How much should an estate plan cost to include two deeds? So asking about an estate plan, what should be the price when it includes two deeds? All right, so it really depends. One thing that I found out very early on in my practice, and I'm continuing to find out all the time, is all estate plans are definitely not created equal. In fact, oftentimes it's like comparing apples to oranges. And I mean this even between attorneys. So there's different levels of service that can be provided. There's also different quality in the documents that are part of a plan. Generally, there's sort of a hierarchy where if you're printing general forms online, it's not going to be nearly as good as seeing an attorney in your area who is familiar with the law, and how it works where you live, in your state, even potentially in your county, depending on what you're looking for, especially regarding deeds. So that the attorney is going to be way better equipped to advise you properly, typically is going to have a way better plan, way better documents, way better language in their deed than something online. But even between attorneys, there is a great disparity between the quality of documents and the types of plans that are created, as well as an even larger disparity in the amount of time invested in the client and actually walking them through each of the documents, what they mean, why they would use them, help to explain in this scenario you do this and why, making sure they really get what the plan means and how to best utilize it. So these things are across the board way different. So answering a question like this is virtually impossible. What I can tell you is this, and again, it's going to depend on where you live because prices are different state to state, but typically, your least expensive option, whether you're going with deeds or documents, is going to be to find some online service that pumps out these types of documents for you. Would I recommend this? No. I cannot tell you the amount of times I have seen documents that were printed from online forms or even an online service that collects information and pumps out the documents, whether it's a will or a trust, a durable power of attorney, some other sort of advance directive or deeds. I always consistently find mistakes. And even though these documents will often say that they are created under the laws of Florida or under the laws of California, wherever you say you're living, they are honestly typically just very general documents. They just throw that in there, but they really aren't crafted to be state specific, and they can get you into trouble. Now, you might be able to print a deed from an online form for free, but in Florida, especially dealing with homestead, you want to make sure the right language is in there. So I wouldn't use a free deed. You might be able to buy a form for $150 or even $50. Still wouldn't recommend it. Now, when we start talking about attorneys, in my area, I know attorneys that are pretty decent that will draft deeds as low as maybe $450, $500 plus whatever the recording fees are. I'm sure there's even some that might be lower if we're talking about price, but there's also a range. Again, there's also service. What if you have questions about your deed down the road, or what if a problem comes up and you need to have something fixed? I do know attorneys that are more in the range of $750 to $950, but they'll answer some ongoing questions. If there's a mistake with a deed, they'll fix it, or if you notice something that needs to be edited, they'll change it, before it's recorded, and all that's included. So the big question here is service. Like your deeds, they're probably going to range from maybe $350, $400 on the low end if prepared by an attorney, up to maybe even $950 or more on the high end, but you also want to make sure you're asking what services are included. Now, as far as an estate plan is concerned, these can definitely vary wildly as well. Of course, there's some plans that do not include trusts, and the trust that typically a revocable trust that's designed to avoid probate. There's other plans that do include them. Again, there's going to be a range. And again, the range is often there for a reason, because we're often comparing apples and oranges with the documents themselves as well as with the services provided. I have seen some attorneys do trust plans for as little as $2,500 to $3,000. Oftentimes I find a lot of things in these plans that aren't really up to par, or they're missing documents, or they don't have enough language in them that they should to cover the person's specific needs. Because there's a difference between just pumping out sort of templated documents versus actually sitting down with a client to find out what's important to them and what really needs to be covered. But on the low end, I'm sure you can find a trust package, a trust plan for around $3,000. That could include one deed, maybe an add-on fee, $500, $400 for an extra deed. Now those plans are going to be upwards of maybe even $7,000 for couples if they're done very specific to that couple's needs again, and if additional questions are answered or there's some sort of additional ongoing relationship with the attorney. Remember, you often get what you pay for, and this is true with any service, including a legal service. It's very important that you ask the attorney what is being covered. So if you're going just for price, what's the cheapest? Sure, you can probably find a plan, especially for an individual, maybe around $2,500 or $2,000, and it's going to just kind of go up from there. But if you're the type of person that wants to make sure that you really have something that's suited towards your needs, and it's not just sort of this revolving door of, here, fill out this form and I'll give you your documents, then I would suggest at least meeting with an attorney who might have higher price plans, maybe more in the $5,000 range, $6,000 range. But it's worth hearing them out, because the service that you're receiving and also the difference in documents might definitely be worth the difference in price. All right, so I hope this answers the question, or at least sort of answers it. If you have any other questions about estate planning or elder law, probate, and you're in Florida, please don't hesitate to reach out to our office. We're atCAUSE Law Office, the non-stuffy attorneys, and the link is in my